All right, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So welcome to Liftyz Fireside Chat, launching a UX and product design career. So my name is Janus Tiu. I'm the moderator of this Fireside Chat. Today, I am based in Toronto. Currently, I'm a senior UX designer at Electronic Arts and also the program lead at Liftyz. So today, we have a fantastic lineup of designers who will share their insights and experiences on how to launch a successful career in product and UX design. So before we kickstart, I would like to briefly talk about today's agenda and some housekeeping things. So in today's fireside chat, we'll try our best to cover all these major topics, breaking into UX design, different learning paths in UX design, and finding your first product design job. We will conclude this event with a Q&A section. So to submit your questions in Zoom, you can click the Q&A button at the bottom of Zoom. Our speakers will be answering your questions at the Q&A section. So if you want to chat, you can click the chat button. Let's welcome our panelists today. So welcome Mosope here and Sunnie. So Sunnie, would you mind briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sunnie. I'm currently based in Toronto, Canada. And so when I first started working with Janus, I was still working at Shopify. And unfortunately, probably most of you you've already heard that 20% of the people got fired or laid off, and then I was unfortunately one of them. So currently, unlike a lot of my mentees, I'm also looking for new opportunities here.
This is fantastic. So Mosope, would you mind introducing yourself?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Mosope. I am currently a product designer at Meta. I'm also based in the Toronto area in a small town called Angus. It's like an hour away from Toronto. I've been in Canada for a little bit. I'm originally Nigerian, and I moved to Canada in 2019. So I've had different transitions in my career, walking through, and I have lots of experience that I'm able to share on this conversation. So looking forward to speaking with everyone.
This is fantastic. So as the event title stated, we're going to have some conversations around launching a UX or product design career. I guess we are all pretty curious about your background and how you two break into UX design. So what inspired you to pursue a career in product and UX design?
You want to go first, Sunnie?
You go ahead.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. I was like, ladies first, but yeah, I can go ahead.
Okay.
So, and to give some context about my background, I studied geology in the university, so nothing design related. But along the way, when I was in school, I found graphic design, and it was really very fascinating. And back in the days, there wasn't really anything like UX design; it was more like web design. So, transitioning from graphic design into UI design, and doing that all along. And when I moved to Canada, because back in Nigeria, there wasn't like an established industry then. Now there is, but it was really hard to get knowledge on all. I needed to upskill myself to because I've been doing research and all that, but it wasn't the structured way. It was just here and there. But when I moved to Canada, I took a bootcamp program, and that really helped me to be like, oh wow, so okay, the reason why I do this is because of this. I didn't know. I was just because I was self-taught at that point. And coming into Canada, I learned about user experience design, and I knew the combination of the visual side of graphic design with the problem solving, asking questions and understanding things. And that really helped me to transition in my career smoothly. And yeah, that's how I found myself here. And it's been interesting so far.
This is great. I also took the bootcamp, actually the same bootcamp. So I am your next cohort, I believed. So how about Sunnie, would you mind sharing your story on how you kickstart your career in product design?
Yeah, so I guess we're talking about bootcamp, so I'm a little bit different. I graduated from University of Toronto, Masters of Information, and oh gosh, I want to say 3 years ago. And so that was my second master's. My first master was in media management, and I graduated from a school called Hong Kong Baptist University. So I was also in Hong Kong, did my first master's there, and then my bachelor was also about communication and media and business and all that. So I guess why and how I started as a designer or product designer was long long time ago when I first graduated from my first master's in media management. And then I was hired by one of the professors that was in that school to redo their website. But my title was about executive assistant, so nothing about a product designer or anything. So I was fortunate enough to work with agencies that was pretty good and well-rounded there in Hong Kong. And that's how I learned there's an industry called product design, and there's something called UX designer. So yeah, I guess that's how I got into this entire thing about knowing the concept of it and wanted to learn more about it. I got a few other jobs since the first one about UX consultant or doing a UX for a chemical company called BSF, and then did their HR system. So it's kind of like SaaS software and everything. And then I told myself, I was like, Sunnie, that wasn't enough. You have to learn something from some professors or someone else. So that's why I took the chance to come to Canada and went to University of Toronto and got that. I spent 2 years in school and learned everything. Not everything, learned the basic, I should say. And yeah, and then here and there, and then end up with Shopify, and then doing SaaS and B2B design.
Wow, such a long journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah. So Mosope actually studied geography and then eventually, transitioned product design. And Sunnie, you was executive assistant. I think you did your first website design, and now you're in UX design. So I'm just curious, like, what challenges did you guys face at the beginning of your product design career?
I can start.
Yeah.
So many. Because I didn't have a design degree because communication is probably from an employer's point of view is just nothing like design. So I had people question a lot about my qualifications and how you can do it. And I guess and on the other hand, because we don't have a pretty good alumni group who was in who was in product design or already in the industry, so it was really hard for me to get started. And it's especially hard, especially after I came to Canada and I knew nobody. So I kind of have to make a lot of connection, to do a lot of networking, which will be covered in the later part of this talk. And I guess, yeah, just, I don't even know where to start with all the challenges. What about you?
Yeah, I think for me, as we're talking, I'm just kind of reflecting on my whole career, starting from, the design itself and all. When I was switching gears fully into product design, and this was when I came to transition to Canada, the first challenge was designing, working within the Canadian environment and designing products for here. Products are different, across the globe, but being able to understand the people of Canada, being able to understand the work environment, the politics and all that things, stakeholder buy-in was kind of different. When I was in an environment where everyone was like me, talk like me, it's kind of easy to get buy-in. But when you're the only person in the room, maybe even the only Black person in the room, and you're coming and saying, hey, I'm an expert in this and all that, people are looking at you like, didn't you just get here yesterday? That kind of thing. So that was kind of really, very interesting. And also one thing too that was really, really kind of challenging then too was really trying to understand the product space. My first job here in Canada was working with an enterprise, with an accounting company and working on enterprise tools. Now, it is very different from consumer tools, really, really very different. And having to learn and ramp up, in bootcamp, they teach you, the kind of products you do are oh, you're working on something pretty small. And I've worked on marketing tools before. But with enterprise, you have all these complex systems that I was working on tools for an accountant. I wasn't an accountant. I didn't know anything about accounting. So, you have to just kind of learn about the space and create solutions that work in that space. So, yeah.
I can totally relate on that because I was in the same shoes. I moved to Toronto 4 years ago and I knew no one in Toronto. Oh my gosh. I still remember that I had to, go out, network, aggressively. I need to attend a boot camp to meet new folks. And so I was definitely in the same shoes as both of you. So what are some, valuable lessons that you have learned from your early career journeys and that actually have you to shape your current design career today?
Yeah, I can go and just writing for one thing I've learned over the years, and one thing I advise designers share early, share often. That's one thing I've really, really learned. And while you're, as you're getting into design, you might get attached to your work. You design something you feel is the best idea. You're like, yeah, this is crazy. And then you take it for usability testing or feedback sessions from stakeholders or design peers, and they shut it down. Being able to the first part is being able to disconnect yourself from the work. The feedback on your work is not about you. It's just all about the solution. And the more you share early, you won't get to a point where you've spent hours working on stuff and it gets shut down. Early sketches, low fidelity ideas, you kind of tease it out, get buy-in, it would really, really help you to go a very long way. And, one thing that I wish I'd learned, in my design career, which has been over 10 years now, is I wish I'd gotten a mentor earlier in my life. If I did, I wouldn't have made different transition. I've learned things the proper way instead of just staggering through. So if you're starting out, please try to get a mentor, someone that can guide you through and learn from their own mistakes so that you don't have to make it. What about you, Sunnie?
Yeah, I guess for me to start a career or something that I learned and then talk to my mentee a lot is don't just focus on the things that you like. Be open-minded. Try to apply as many as possible, talk to people as many as possible, even though you don't know about the industry, whether it's highly technical, like an accounting firm, or is something totally that you've never heard about. Because I work for a company, it's a geotechnical engineer company. I had no idea what they're talking about. But I learned on the job, and then what I can be good as a product designer coming in, knowing nothing about it, is actually helping me to shape my view and to do a lot of usability testing, to do a lot of research on what people are using or thinking about. So that's actually helped me a lot. And when we're talking about networking and how to start, is you got to start from somewhere. So as I said before, just go talk to people, send a lot of linking invites, try to have coffee chat with people. And when you met the right person, they will recommend you or refer you to the right opportunity. That you never know. Down the road, you never know.
Yeah, building on what you just mentioned about networking, I would love to hear you two thoughts on how to network with other professionals in the field. Any tips or any guidelines that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, I can start with that, and I'll use my own experience with networking. When I moved to Canada, networking was a new thing for me. Back in Nigeria, then we didn't really do networking like that. You kind of knew people in the industry and all, but it wasn't a thing. You applied for jobs, you went for interviews, you got it, that was it. But in Canada, in North America, it's very important. And I think for your career, it's very important to network. Now, with, after the pandemic, I believe networking has become very easier because you have LinkedIn, you have different platforms where you can meet people. Back in the days, you had to print out your business card, go for physical events, and in a room, loud room, very noisy, you're trying to meet people and do all that. It is really, really pretty tough. But one tip that I can give, or a couple of tips I can give you, is LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. I recommend for you to use it, leverage it. And my approach, to me, even till now, I still network with people, and people network with me also. My approach is, if I see someone that is doing something amazing, something that I like, I connect with them on LinkedIn. Now, don't just connect and just send a blank, message there. I get all those a whole lot. People might not accept it, but do it on your computer, preferably. Add a note, say, hi, Janus, I see the amazing work you've done for EA and Liftyz and everything. I am XYZ. I want to connect with you. I want to learn from your experience and your journey. Bam, you send that. There's a very high chance you get that person to connect, and the person has already seen your intentions. They say that you're following their work, and from there you can schedule a coffee chat and all that. And when you connect with someone, try to get some time on their calendar, and we can talk about later on the things that you can talk about doing networking. But that is one thing I can remember right now, and I'll pass it on to Sunnie because some of the thoughts went through my head. But yeah.
Yeah, I can totally relate to a lot of the things that you just talk about. And also one thing that I would highly recommend everyone to do is reach out to trifactors, reach out to the PMs, reach out to data scientists, reach out to engineers, developers, or even design managers, because they all come with different perspectives, viewing the design industry, and you can learn a lot from them, because these are the people that you will be working with in the future. You'll be working with PMs, we'll be working with engineers. It's really good to get started, to know what their view and how to work with them, or even talk with them, because we are saying like we all speak different languages, because they use code a lot. PMs, they use business jargons a lot, and design, we use design jargons a lot, or just professional terms. So get that started is also a good way to meet a lot of people. Just adding a little bit more varieties in your network, that would really help me. That actually helped me a lot.
Yeah. And I also want to add now, like, as we're talking, one thing came to my mind, like, outside, like, when you're networking with other people, there are lots of design events that happen nowadays. A very good place to meet people. I see some of you already, putting links in the chat. It's a good way to meet some of your peers, like, networking with your peers. If you go to hackathons, design events, a good place to meet other designers, because you never know. I've had people that, like, we networked a very long while back, and they're like, oh my God, like, you work at this company right now. And I'm like, yeah, I remember you, like, oh, can I get a referral? I'm like, you know what? Don't worry, I'm going to shoot you and I can help you to refer. You never know. So network with your peers, network with other people, like, engineers and all that, and other senior designers out there too. So yeah.
LinkedIn is indeed a very powerful tool. I like that, Sunnie, you brought up that you do not only just, network with designers, you can also, network with engineers and product managers. I think this is a new perspective for a lot of new designers. They thought that I did only make connections with designers on LinkedIn. So this is very interesting that you brought that up. So I'm just curious, like, since you're pretty, so let's say there is a new candidate and they are pretty new to the field. So what are some good topics that they can talk about when networking with others? Any ideas, suggestions, so that the newbie can learn from you?
Yes. So I guess I'll start. For a lot of the topics, I think like you two just touched on already, but I think like something special about being a junior designer, you can ask them how they work, how's their daily life look like, for like from their morning coffee to having stand up with their team, and then all that. So you can understand how design works differently in different industry, even like in different companies. So you can get a sense of what kind of design work or what kind of design team you want to put yourself into in the future. So as a junior designer, I think it's really important to know all the options you have, and then you can actually pick or design your own career based on that.
Yeah, awesome. And to kind of add to that, one thing that really helped me when I started to network is when you connect with people and networking them, it's, there may be some sort of kind of power dynamics, like, maybe there's someone senior in the industry, you are trying to like network with them. People always like to talk about themselves. So, try to like, learn from their experience. And one good thing you can say is, hey, like, how do you get from X, from how's your design journey been? That's one thing you can ask them, like, you're a design director or you're a senior designer at this company. How did you get there? And they'll talk to their journey. You can even ask them, like, what is your process? What is your current process? How has it evolved over time? And, you can also ask them for tips that I'm just starting out in the industry, or like, a middle designer or a senior designer, what are some of the tips that took you, like, when you were starting early, that you can apply? Basically, all the questions you're asking at that phase is about like, trying to learn from them. And, it will be like, you're trying to kind of know them more. And yeah, that will be, it'll make conversation really very smooth. You realize that time just flies by quickly when you're having these conversations.
Yeah, that's right. I feel like all designers need to learn how to ask questions. This is one of the biggest lessons that I learned when I first started out. I did not know how to ask good questions when I first started out. So it took me some time to learn. I guess like designers just need to be very curious about, the work and just kind of build it in our nature. I think that is going to help us to fast track our product design career. So yeah, I think that thank you so much for sharing, your inspiring stories on how you break into UX design and all the networking tips. You know, we were all junior designers once. So Mosope, actually, you learned a UX design by taking a boot camp and by learning, and Sunnie did a master's degree in UX design. And now I would like to dig into this a little bit deeper. You know, as you know, there's so many different learning paths in the market right now, like boot camp, college degrees, online courses, like Google certificates, and you also got the self-taught.
I think something is wrong with my audio. Is it just mine?
It's Janus' mic. She's fixing
Oh,
it.
oh yeah, we lost you there.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. So I was just talking about there's so many different, you know, options in the market. So around all education paths, you know, is there any one that you would recommend to these aspiring designers nowadays?
It's a very deep question, and I have my my opinions, and I really love to hear from Sunnie, like you haven't done the master's degree and all, and knowing that the audience here is like from different parts of the world, so I'll speak like of my experience, like speaking with international people from different countries and within Canada. Now, multiple options to get into product design. They both have their pros and cons, and you have to weigh your options. That's the thing. So let's start with the self-taught. There are different online lessons you can attend, on Coursera. There's Google certificate. There's so many programs you can kind of attend over there. For those learning paths, the other online ones like the Google or whatever, they're pretty affordable. So if you're looking at if you don't have a lot of money and want to get into UX, it might be a good way to learn. Now, the other side about it is what you are not paying with money, you pay with your time and pay with your effort. And what do I mean by that? For the Google certificates, you will need to actively reach out to people to get feedback on your work, because you're just attending online, but there isn't really anyone senior person dedicated to you to give you feedback and guide you. So you have to do the work to connect, network, get feedback, and do a lot more. Okay. There's also the option of boot camps. Now, boot camps are pricey, and a lot of people have opinions out there saying, oh, boot camps here and there. And I tell people a boot camp will guarantee you a job immediately after. Even a master's degree wouldn't. But what you have with some of these boot camps are you're able to get feedback on your work. You have someone dedicated that's giving you feedback, going through your work. You have a peer. Some boot camps even have, networking events where they bring industry professionals to kind of help you. That is it. Now, I don't have a master's degree, so I'll leave Sunnie to that. But I know the master's degree also, because it's, it's with either a university or somewhere more. If you're someone looking for let's say immigration streams, it might be a very good one to do a master's, immigrate into the country, from there get into the working system. It's definitely more pricey than a boot camp, I think. I don't know how much it is, but also it's, so yeah, there are different options, and I'll just recommend look at your end goal. You can totally learn UX from home, but just prepare to go the extra mile to reach out to people, get feedback, do lots of mentoring sessions and all that stuff to fine-tune your work. So that's how I see it. I won't say there's one clear-cut path. It depends on what you're looking for. So yeah, but I love to hear.
Yeah, I totally agree, Mosope. When you talk about you have to really find your end goal, I think that's also something that I think a lot of junior designers who wanted to get into this industry needs to bear in mind, or keep reminding yourself, what do you want and where did you start? I guess because I only can speak from my experience, which I did a master and I didn't go to a boot camp, and then back then I didn't know that was an option. But I've had coworkers or friends who went through boot camp, or who didn't even go for a boot camp, who just self-taught, but they all working. They have a perfect job, they love their jobs, and then they're getting promotions. So I feel like it's totally related to what you wanted to do and how you want to approach design. So in a master's course, especially the one that you've taught at University of Toronto, I want to say that it's a really structured curriculum, and you have basic things you have to cover as the UX concentration, and then you have some selectives. You can learn from library, you can learn library study, and then you can learn from, I think now they have service design, and which is really good. They added that on as elective. And then you can learn from industry experts and also professors who wrote those papers. And for me, I feel like it's more structured, and then I can just learn a lot from professors. And also I read a lot of papers and how, like, the principle and the foundation, how UX should work. I'm more of that person, like, and then my personality is like, I really wanted to know why and how that works, and then I can apply on practices and exercises later on. So that's why I picked the master's course, only because of my personal preference, and also because my personality, that I wanted to read a lot and wanted to do a lot of school projects with other people. And also one thing about having a master's degree or a bachelor's degree in UX is you can actually pick courses from other faculties. That's one thing that I think a lot of bootcamp, like, they only focus on like UX. But for me, I got to pick some courses from the computer science department and from MBA, and some of my like my classmates also picked from like psychology and all that, because it's a university, so they have a wider range of courses or electives that you can pick from. So I guess that's based on my experience.
Yes. And I want to just add, like, something to layer on that, like, learning from like how the master's degree goes and all that, like, you chose to go in, like, pick extra courses to do that, as whatever the field that you choose, if the path, either you do self-learning, you need to put in some extra effort. For example, unless if you like, have a graphic design background, or you're just very talented, the visual side of design requires you to put in some time. You understand? You put in some time to learn, to like, fine-tune your work. And, for example, you might need to learn about how, like, how products is run, for example, the agile process, like, software development and all those things. You might not learn those things, like, within any of the programs, but you need to, learn externally. So there's still going to be some work on your side outside of your curriculum to actually learn those things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that, Mosope, you mentioned you compared, different paths and emphasized the importance of having the right mentorship. And also, Sunnie, you shared your experience in doing your master's and, the pros, mostly pros, and not a lot of cons of doing a master's. I'm just curious, like, from the designer's perspective, how important is formal education in this field?
I think
not important at all.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need a degree to be in design, and that's just the truth about it. Like, you don't need it. Like, when I, back when I was during the hiring phase and everything, I don't necessarily like see, oh, this person has a master's degree in design. Yeah, let's bring them on. I want to see your portfolio. That's the most important thing. Is this person's body of work really very good, and are they able to communicate and solve problems? Once I see that, it doesn't matter whatever, like, path you took. That's for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's totally correct. Like, when we're interviewing a few junior designers at my company before Shopify, it was like, some people don't even put their education or qualification or anything on their resume, but we still wanted to talk with them because their portfolio was outstanding. And I guess for a designer, it's really important to have a portfolio that can speak your design principle, and probably can also tell your personality and how easygoing you are, how you can work with, or how you can collaborate with other people, like I said, PMs and engineers and data scientists, and all that is more important than, I should have said more important, but it's equally important than your education. But hey, we're here today, and we just wanted to talk about different paths and how you can get into product design. I guess, like, to summarize everything that we just said, whatever you're doing, as long as you love and you're passionate about design, you will find your way in. But you just have to phrase yourself and to put your narrative into a storytelling, but about how you can be a better designer, or how you're going to develop yourself further down the road.
Yeah, I think you guys make a good point. I also kind of agree with that. Honestly, when I look into designers' portfolios and resume, what I always look for is, the design craft skills and communication skills and presentation skills. So since you both will kind of mention that formal education is not very important in this field, so what qualities and what are the things that you would look for, when you hire new designers, or do you have any advice for new designers to highlight those skills in the job application materials?
Can I go first, Sunny, or I can go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, for new designers, like, the people call these things soft skills, but they're actually the hardest to learn. And that's like communication, problem solving, all that stuff. They're really, really very hard to learn. The hard skills, like, the using the design and code, if you keep practicing, you get better, but all those things are so when I see like a junior person's portfolio, especially if you don't have experience, I want to see that this person, like, even though they might not have experience, but they're trying their hands on so many things. If I see, like, things from attending hackathons, or they've worked on a couple of case studies on their own, and even though there might be hypothetical projects that don't exist, but the fact that they are trying and fine-tuning their work, it goes a very long way. Then also, like, seeing one thing that is also important for me is to see the problem-solving skills, especially in the portfolio. How were you able to, take the information, distill it down, and come up with a solution? And are you able to communicate and talk about it? That's really very important. And, while anyone can put those things in their resume, but seeing the portfolio of work really kind of describes all those things and lets me see, like, what is really very important. Also to, like, not ignoring, like, the visual side of skills. And I also emphasize that because right now it's with the economic market, you have to ensure you stand out. So, like, how close to real applications is your design? Like, does it look very good? Like, are you putting a lot of effort in there? It doesn't have to be pixel perfect, but, just the basic typography, spacing, all those normal things out there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what else do I look for in a resume? I think I'll pass it on to Sunny while I'm thinking of more things.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of resume and your portfolio, I think it's more important to show you like you're a well-rounded person. So now we have AI and the people saying like product design, the industry is dying. But as a real person, you have to compare yourself to a machine that what's better. Like for you, what you can present in the AI can't, a machine can't. So I think it's really important to show who you are and how you're going to communicate with different people, and how you're going to, if there's a conflict, how you're going to solve that. I think that's more important than telling me, oh, these are the 5 hackathons that I was in a week or a month. Like we all can, this is not a numbers game. Some people say it is, but I feel like from my perspective, it's not, because we all have limited time. We all have limited resources. Sometimes you just have to pick the right one and do it good. So I saw someone asking in the in the chat saying like, what if you don't have local experience? That was something that I personally had experienced. When I first came to Canada, no local experience, but I was fortunate enough that my program, so the master's degree that I graduated from, they have something called co-op, or it's kind of like an internship. I got into the internship, and we were fortunate enough to work for the Ontario government. And then that's how I started the experience. From somewhere, you gotta have local experience, but that internship wasn't even paid. So, but I feel like it's the fact that you gotta start from somewhere. And I would highly recommend you looking into some NGOs, some like internship or something to get started. And then I'm pretty sure you will get more opportunities after that once you get your foot in the door.
Yeah. And I want to kind of add to that, like, because like I'm looking at the question now, and the question is like, someone who has some experience already. Let's say you have some experience, you're bringing it into the country, and you don't have like, you don't have local experience. Now, if you're, let's say, for example, you're a mid-level designer and all that, you're transitioning to a new country and you're trying to get up to speed, you might not be able to land, something immediately. Like Sunny said, like, opportunities to volunteer might be pretty great. So you can use some of those skills you've had. Another thing that really helped is the power of networking. Build your network, learn from people that have been working in industry. Like, hey, what are some of the key qualities people are looking at? And when you're crafting your resume, crafting your portfolio, attending interviews, you're able to speak not speak the language, but you're able, I don't know the best way to explain it, but you're able to represent yourself like someone that has been there for a very long while. Because most times when these companies say you don't have the Canadian experience or local experience, it's just that, can you talk like we talk? Can you reason like we reason? And once you're able to relate in a particular way, then like, and of course, your work is really very exceptional. A lot of time, like, if I see a candidate, they might not have experience. If they're really very good and this person can solve my problem, I'm willing to, go above and beyond to say, I want this person. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally relate on that. Honestly, when I first started out, it took me like a year, working for startups. Some is like unpaid, some like pay projects to build my portfolio. I still remember I used Wix to build websites for startups when I first started out, those old days. But anyway, I can totally relate on that. And this is something that I always encourage new designers to do, just to reach out to the local community, work for nonprofits, help them to improve the websites and help them to build like a portal, help them to build whatever systems, just to help them, to improve the business online presence. This is going to be an amazing piece of case studies in your portfolio. So I'm just curious, because since we talk about someone who has experience, how about for those who has no experience, let's say career switchers? What are some transferable skills that can be valuable in the UX design field, and how they can present those skills in the application materials?
And I can go first for this. One thing, like, Sunnie mentioned this too, but just kind of expand on this. As if you're coming in as like, you're transferring from different, different places, don't block out your previous experiences, own it. For example, your portfolio and other can be like, oh, I was an actress transitioning now into product design. I've had, someone that we hired back then, she was an accountant, with a CPA and all those qualifications, she transferred into product design. And one of the core reasons why we hired her was because we knew she was an accountant. And of course, I was working at like an accounting company then. It was a very crucial experience. I've had people that like, some people are doctors, medical doctors, transitioning into UX and, kind of speak about it. And what are some of the transferable skills? Let's say, for example, you've been working as a waitress. A lot of the skills that you have is communication. You're able to communicate, able to remember people's orders, like, be able to know what they want, do all that. You're able to manage a very high, high level of orders and all that stuff. Some of those skills can be brought in, like project management, for example, communicating, stakeholder management. Some of all those things, you've been doing them in your role before, and there are soft skills you can bring in. For example, let's say like, you work within the media industry. At media industry, you're interviewing people. So those skills can be transferable into user interviews where you're talking to people, trying to really uncover and dive into a lot of things. So yeah, you can, as you look at the different skills like, that require for products, you can see, hey, what are things I've been doing already that have been really, really, really helpful? And I'll give you an example. When I started off my career in graphic design, working my way into UI design. I've been some UI design projects, fully moving into product design. The first job I got when I got here, I started as a solo designer and I was able to build out a team, but I was able to transfer a lot of skills, like, from me, like, doing freelancing, working for companies, to be able to scale out, build team, build structures and processes. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that question just brought so many friends that I know, just memories and memories. I feel like I've known people who was a lawyer before, and then I know people who was an engineer, and then I also know people who studied, I want to say medical degrees too. And also people like, it's just accounting, like you said, was be like everyone. So I guess sorry, I need to fix my light. I don't know what's going on. 1 sec.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah, I guess one thing that we all learned, at least I learned from their experience, is first of all, they're so confident about their experience. They're not going to interviews and saying like, oh, I'm a junior and I didn't know nothing about how to work with other people. And they always find a way to tell their story. That's really important. And like I said, communication, of course, is one thing that I would want to look forward to. And the other thing is you are already an expert in a certain industry, like accounting or engineer or medical or health and medical. There's so many different companies that's doing UX in those industries. Look for those companies and you will be a really great asset to that company. So that's also one thing that I would say, yeah, exactly. Someone said in the comment, own the past experience. Never say like, oh, I've never had experience in this. You do. You really have to make use of those.
That is so true. Confidence is definitely a key when you network. So I met a lot of, mentees from different fields. So for example, I think Sunnie mentioned someone, graduated with a medical degree. I actually met one who studied a pre-med at U of T. And I also met a nurse before, she actually decided to became a UX designer during the pandemic because of the burnouts that she experienced. So I definitely, encourage all the career switchers to try to identify the transferable skills that you had in the past. So for example, for nurse, you could be a good communicator, very patient maybe, and you're caring. So these are some good attributes, to be a good UX researcher and designers. So own it and call it out in your portfolio and resume. I'm sure that is going to help you to stand out.
Yeah, and I want to just kind of add to what Sunnie said, just adding a plus one to that. The UX industry cuts across multiple, phases. From geotechnical, for example, I studied geology, and if I was going to geotechnical, I would come in like, oh, I have a degree in this. I can be a subject matter expert, and there are companies that are doing amazing things in health tech, if you're a veterinarian, for example, in the pet industry, in the hospitality industry, there are so many people doing different solutions, and you'll be an amazing asset because you understand how it works and you can think like the user and nail down the solution. So yeah.
Oh yeah, one thing I also want to call out, Mary Ann is one of our career coaches. She was a biochemist before, and now she worked for a biotech company. So it's a good example of, leveraging your past experience and to land a job in a related industry. I'm aware of time right now, and we got a lot of questions submitting by our audience. And I hope that you guys really enjoyed this conversation so far. And I would like to, shift gears and move into the Q&A section. So let's see, we'll try our best to go through them in the remaining time. Okay, so let me see. So the first question that I got here is, as a junior designer, I'm struggling to secure roles in my specific areas of interest. The feedback that I'm receiving is around not having the 3+ years of hands-on experience in those specific sectors, but good work. Any advice?
I can start with this. So you're applying in specific areas of interest. Now, I know right now with the way the industry is, a lot of people will say 3 years of experience for a junior designer. I think that's kind of really, really very, I don't think it's not fair. It's not right. So what you can do is, you mentioned you already have a good work and you're trying to get into a specific area of interest. Now, if let's say, for example, you are looking for a job already, you don't have a job, you're looking for a job. What I would advise you is while you're looking to try to get into your specific area of interest, you can try other areas to where those skills might come in handy, get somewhere and then try to work your way into experiences, you try something outside of your job to have things in your portfolio. For example, let's say you want to work on AI or metaverse related things, and you're transitioning from a different company, you want to get into a company like Meta. You may not have that experience, but while you're at another company, you can try to build up experiences, work on other projects that would help you to get to that 3 years or 2 years or whatever years, and then you can then make a particular switch. You understand? And also, one thing you can also do is, if you're looking for a particular area of interest and they're telling you good job and all, if you can network with people that work in that industry and ask them to give you feedback on your portfolio, they might be able to point out some of the gaps in the knowledge you currently have and the areas where you can really make an impact. So I'd also recommend that too.
This is great. Sunnie, do you have anything to add?
I think we covered most of it, but I do have one suggestion or advice, because I've been mentoring a lot of junior designers, And then they all say like, oh, you don't have specific sectors, but overall it's pretty positive. One thing I highly recommend them do is to ask specific questions. And connect with your hiring manager afterwards on LinkedIn and talk about what kind of specific skills they're requiring for that industry if you really wanted to get into that industry. And of course, since you're on LinkedIn, connect to other companies that is also in the same industry or in the same sector and talk with the designers in there and ask them about what kind of specific skills that they use every day in their daily work. And that's really helpful too.
Yeah, I also have one point to add. I have some successful mentees who successfully landed a job in the past few months. And one thing that I kind of learned from them as well is that they were very hardworking. They actually build case studies for that industry. So one example would be, just call her name is like Julia, whatever. So Julia actually, did a case studies around the gaming industry. She had no gaming experience and she had no experience at all, honestly. But she eventually got a job at Epic Games as a UX designer, thanks to her amazing portfolio related to the gaming industry. Because, when hiring managers, they look for new designers or like they're hiring like intermediate, even senior designers, they look for relevancies, in your portfolio. So I think like creating industry-specific case studies might be a way to go for new designers. All right, the next question that I have here is, there are many types of UX designer as you increase in years of experience. You can be a stronger surface designer or a stronger researcher. Obviously, you can go into surface design lead, for example. Do you know a list of other possible moves besides product owner, a non-specialist track?
I want us to start your own business.
Not your consulting business, Sunnie Design Consultancy.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably like in a naive answer to that, but I would say don't constrain yourself to just doing design. Think about other things that you want to do or you're passionate about, some other interests that you might find it interesting. And I've seen designers being PMs, and also I'm not sure if everyone watched the Figma conference, like Airbnb. Yeah, the CEO was a designer. So I guess for now is like, I think it echoed back to what we talked about earlier is think about what you wanted to do. Think about what you want to become as a person. So that's more important.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really fantastic. Like, just kind of add on to that, like, as you move on, like, in years as a user experience designer, there are multiple paths you can choose. So within the user experience design track, depending on the company you are in, you can switch into management, like, managing people as a design manager. You can focus on being a very strong individual contributor, IC. And like, by being that strong person, you're like, you become a subject matter expert in that field. Now, if you want to branch out, like, like Sunnie mentioned, product management is one way. Like, you can kind of go into product management, product ownership, design program management for some organizations that like, very experienced. Some people might even go into things like, design systems experts, for example, and building all those design systems experience. So there are multiple, and, also too, you can, like you mentioned, start your own company and, start building out different solutions. So there are things to explore there.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, so the next question I have here, I really want to go through all the questions, sorry. So the next question here is it easy to find a worldwide remote job in the UX industry? I'm based in Hong Kong, but work remotely for a company in Canada. I think it's possible, but not easy.
It is definitely possible.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's not easy. Yeah, it's possible, but it's not easy.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's possible and it's easy for some people, but it's not easy for some people. It depends on how you want to approach this problem. See, put my UX designer hat. It depends on what's the problem you're facing. Like, do you want to find a remote just only because you want to stay in Hong Kong? Or is it something like you are looking forward to move to some other countries? Maybe there are other opportunities here. So we're all worldwide or international talent here. So try to think about ways that why you wanted to find a remote job. And then the other thing is we have there's a few websites, like I'm not going to name names, but there's a few websites that you can find remote job, but sometimes they're on project based, which means that you're not a full-time employee, and comes with a lot of troubles coming with that. So you really have to weigh the pros and cons of being a remote. And also another important thing is whether everyone in the company is in remote or it's a hybrid for some people. And when you wanted to talk about your career advancement and something like that, that will come into picture. That will be a bigger concern for you. So it really depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, I love that you cover different factors to consider when applying or getting a remote job. Very UXy. It depends. This is our favorite answer. Like, it depends. All right, Mosope, do you have anything to add?
Oh no, Sunnie has said a whole lot. So yeah.
All right, cool. Let's move on then. Do you have any advice for new grad UX designers? It feels like there are little to no entry-level opportunities because of the layoffs, hiring freezes, and competition.
Yeah, I can kind of add to this, and like, if like the market right now is really, I'll lean on Sunnie to also like talk about our experience too. But the market right now is really very competitive, very competitive. One thing I advise is, like, let's say, for example, you finish from your boot camp and all that, just know that when you finish from that program, like, there has to be so much that you need to do after to be able to stand out from the sea of the crowd. Now, while you're refining your skills and all that, like, Sunnie mentioned earlier, like, finding opportunities to volunteer and do like a non-paid where you can get real world experience, anything you can get to set you apart from the sea of people just jumping in there, jump on it. Like, I think, like, volunteering experiences, improve your visual skills, have reviews of your portfolio and all that stuff to help you to stand out. And, don't give up, just keep applying out there, network with people, getting referrals for roles and all, it really helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To speak from my personal experience, it's tough. It's really tough. And then it also depends on what you want for your next job or your first job, and also what you can get from and also the pool of talented people who got laid off and then who had experience from then or anything like that. So I like personally, I had to turn down a few offers since I started looking for a new opportunity. Now I'm like, why would I do that?
Why did you do that? Like, exactly. Am I crazy?
It's a personal preference. At that time, I was like, maybe I had more time. Maybe there's other opportunities. There are bigger fish in here, and also maybe I can afford to wait for a few months. But like I said, just find something that you can relate, and then work there. You never know. Maybe end up you will loving that environment. You will love your manager, and then you love the environment and work-life balance. You can never know. So take what you can get. I think from my personal experience for the past few months, yeah, that's definitely the right approach for now.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. How do I apply for an AI or gaming UX UI designer position if I don't have a relevant case study in my portfolio?
Yeah, I think Janus, you can start with this first because you are in the gaming industry. So
yes, that's right. So it's kind of interesting. I did not have any gaming design experience before joining EA. My manager found me online, and he knew that I worked for an e-commerce solution company. So what I did is that I tried to understand what they wanted in the first 2 rounds of interviews. When it comes to case studies, it's usually a 3rd round or 4th round of interview. So I got time to prepare. So in the first 2 rounds of interview, I tried to understand what they wanted. So in my current position, they wanted someone who has strong analytical skills, like someone who could do like A/B testing, who could do a lot of data-driven design. So I learned that in my first 2 rounds of interview. So I just share relevant case studies in my presentation. And my case studies was my e-commerce solution design project. It was not related to gaming at all, but it went well. So after the presentation, they liked that I could bring my perspective and my experience in e-commerce to gaming. In gaming industry, we always wanted to monetize and, to earn money from microtransactions. So having those experience can definitely help me to stand out from other candidates. So like I said, relevancy is very important. If you don't have a relevant experience, you can build passion projects. Remember Julia's example that I shared earlier? She had no gaming experience, but she built a case study for Fortnite, and she eventually got into Epic Games.
Yeah, that is amazing. Like, I really like that example you gave. And just to kind of add some little layering on there, definitely like, it's good as you get passion projects, get all that. But I like your experience where you mentioned you didn't have a gaming whatever, but you're able to show some of the skills they were looking for through your work. And, sometimes, like, for example, when I'm a meta now, I work within the ads and monetization. Before this, I was working like, on enterprise software for accountants, nothing related. But I was able to demonstrate some of the core skills we're looking for, that complex problem solving. And it's what is really helping me now in my current role. Understand some of the industries, like, even if you're an experienced, even a designer at Shopify before working on e-commerce, if you were to join Amazon, you need to onboard into Amazon. A lot of the experiences, like, it might help you, but each company is different in how they design things. So, aside from having like, your different case studies that showcase those experiences, ensure your fundamentals are really, really very solid. Fundamental skills they are looking for are very solid.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so moving forward, the next question that we have is, do you guys have any resources that designers should read? I would recommend you to check out our websites and Instagram. We got a lot of resources that we occasionally shared online. So I'm just going to mark it done for now because we got other questions to go through. Okay, so I'm a freelance UI UX designer, and with that, I was able to lend to clients. What's your advice on bouncing back from having clients that are canceling before the project starts? Have you guys have any freelance experience in the past?
Yeah, I've had freelance experience in the past, and I haven't had like, a situation where clients are, kind of canceling. And that question, that question kind of needs a little bit of more deep dive. Like, are there contracts in place? Like, are they canceling because of the economic situation? Are they canceling because, like, maybe there's some quality of work that hasn't been gotten through? So I think it's really, really very over there. But definitely with these clients, like, at least from my own experience, having an agreement, like, before you start any work, getting your payment upfront for those clients to prevent canceling. And one thing too you can do too is, whatever projects you are doing, do exceptional work, try to get referrals for those that, or try to, because as a freelancer, you also have to be able to put in your proposal out there so you can get more clients. So if clients are canceling, like, work to try to get other clients. Now, it's been a very long while since I've done this, so I'm not like, the most experienced now in that. It's been years ago.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I guess we can always answer one last question, and then we will need to wrap up this chat today. So the last question that I got here is, all right, can you share some strategies or advice working as a solo designer in a team?
You'll be wearing different hats.
Yeah, that's right. You got to work on the UI. You will be the only researcher. You will need to work on your design systems.
Yeah, but a good thing for you is after you experience being the only one designer, you can probably apply for a managerial position because you've done everything and you know what you're good at, and then you'll be more focused on the things that you are really good at in the future. And yeah, I guess. And also, but I can't give you any answer because I've never been in a team that I was the only designer.
Lucky you. I was
yeah, I was one to, like, a solo designer before I scaled my team. It is a very interesting position. And, there's a particular book over here. So I'm going to scoot back and recommend this book to you. It has, to show you that, like, I've been in these shoes. The book is called The User Experience Team of One. I highly recommend this book. If you're in that position, it has a lot of tips on how to navigate your career and all that. So all I will say is, in this book, get it, have a look at it. So User experience team of one. That is the
I
name.
love that. You just grabbed the book behind you.
Yeah, I have it here because I've had that
some
question a whole lot. So it's ready. I have books I read. So yeah.
I recognize some covers. We got the same books.
Yeah, similar books. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's good. So thank you so much for your questions. And, thank you, Sunnie and Mosope for sharing your experience. So to wrap up this event, I just want to quickly share some updates on Liftyz. We organize events, we host programs frequently. So I just want to share some updates before we go. We just opened our doors for enrollment for the Product Design Career Accelerator program. So it's like an 8-week program. You'll gain essential skills and have access to all the valuable resources and get feedback for your portfolio and resume. So we got some folks actually from the current cohort joining this event today. So it's so good to see you here. Additionally, you will be matched with one of the career coaches to excel in your job search and build a successful UX design career. So Sunnie and Mosope here is also one of our career coaches. So we saw out our last 2 cohorts quickly. So I just wanted to call it out. If you are interested, you can check out our website and Instagram for more details. So apart from that, we also have a very strong design community. We host free and member exclusive events occasionally. So today's event is free. And 3 weeks later, we actually will be organizing another free event for the general public. So we invited 2 designers from Big Tech to share their journey to Big Tech. So be sure to follow us on Instagram and get notified. And again, thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you Mosope and Sunnie for sharing your wisdom with us. Have a wonderful day and I'll see you guys in the next event.
And good luck, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, most definitely. Good luck. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.